Hello everyone, this is Mason Bean with the Wise News Network, and today we have part 3 of our Piedmont Lithium update. In this segment, we're giving the floor to the concerned citizens from the local area surrounding Piedmont Lithium's proposed mining facilities. I'll let you hear it from them, but some of the immediate concerns are financial ruin as a result of being in proximity to Piedmont, worry over the various dangers presented by being right beside a lithium mine, and what reaction time Piedmont will have when they affect their neighbors.
The first one is Sandra Foster. Then it'd be Brian Harper, Locke Bell, Lisa Strath, Bryson Linhardt, Jessica Linhardt, Tim Linhardt, Rich Pemberton, and Warren Snowden. And that'll be the way that group goes, if that's all right. And then we'll start there, and so it'll be Sandra, Brian, and Locke.
Thank you, Commissioners. My name is Sandra Foster. I'm at 108 Adderholt Road. That's in Bessemer City. I am known as the buffer zone for the mine. I have tried to get answers. I've tried to get truth, and it's just been impossible. I worked for 10 years in the real estate sector, so common sense tells you a lot of what's going on in our neighborhood. And my question to you tonight is, why should Gaston County allow Piedmont Lithium to come into our neighborhood and financially devastate us and leave some families to be homeless or to live with the poisons and dangers that are associated with this mine? My house is within walking distance of where I'm told the mine will end. I can see 133 Adderholt Road from my yard. Why should I be financially devastated so they can make billions of dollars? Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good evening. I'm Brian Harper. I live at 1953 Hepzibah Church Road. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. Piedmont says that there will be no damage to homes and businesses from their blasting, yet they have contacted or hired multiple businesses, even out of state, to looking into their blast operations. How can Piedmont say that there is no danger to homes, businesses, and the environment when they still do not know who or how the blasting will be done? And you cannot know how far the shock waves will reach if the size of blast is not known. Will Piedmont tell us tonight the type and amount of explosives that they will be using? If not, then they cannot say what damage will be caused to the wells, homes, businesses, and the environment. Also, Piedmont has told the North Carolina Mining Commission it will monitor itself to ensure that it does not violate any environmental laws. Piedmont also says it will report itself of any violations. For years, Piedmont has been violating county laws by allowing erosion into Beaver Dam Creek. The erosion comes from logging and drilling roads that Piedmont has created. If Piedmont will not monitor and report itself on something as simple as erosion, then why should we believe them to do so with chemicals going into the soil? Also, can you imagine any other mining or chemical producer not being monitored? Do you think that government does not monitor other similar industries such as fracking? Piedmont must pay Gaston County for independent, expert monitoring, which will report directly to the county on at least a quarterly basis. And I will say that my statements are not followed by a disclaimer of forward-looking statements. Thank you.
My name is Locke Bell. I live at 534 Whitesides Road in Krause. One thing we know is that wells will go dry. We just don't know how far out. These ladies tonight have said, well, Piedmont Lithium will look at it, and Piedmont Lithium will decide what they're going to do. Here's some problems. Gaston County has a minimum housing code. It requires operable plumbing. The minute that well goes dry, the people in that house are in violation of the minimum housing code. That then jeopardizes their homeowner's policy. And when your homeowner's policy is canceled, you get foreclosed on. They will be deciding. It's taken 2 years and we have no answers for anything. We got no new answer tonight. They'll be deciding the fate of these folks while they're in violation. And I'd like them to answer these questions. One, how do you wash your hair with bottled water? I mean, do you carry your case? Well, they're deciding they're going to give them bottled water. They say they might bring a tanker in. Well, the tanker, how are you going to hook that up to the water line? Some of these houses, you couldn't even get in there with a tanker. How are you going to wash your hair with bottled water? You're going to carry a case in there, and halfway through, you're going to be tripping over the bottle. I'm serious. How are you going to do it? While they're deciding. How are you going to wash clothes? Think about it. You're going to have to stand in front of the washer and wait for the rinse cycle. And then you're going to have to pour another case of bottled water in there. This is while they're deciding. I'd like them to come up and explain, how does a 7-year-old use bottled water to flush the toilet? These are the things they're going to be just debating, whether to put you a new well in. They'll be debating. And if it's to run water, a water line, that's 2 years. It's been 2 years now. We have no idea. You have no idea where they want to run a water line. At least I've never seen any plan showing the water line. For 2 years, people are out there. Or they'll have a tanker parked in their backyard on top of the septic line. No. This whole thing with the water is jeopardizing these folks and many others. It will happen, and these will be the losers. Thank you very much.
We'll hear some more concerns, such as the new permits that will need to be fulfilled with Piedmont's updated plans, a need for better cell coverage in the area to help with risk mitigation for both the citizens and plant employees, as well as some points brought up about Piedmont's plans for the local wells surrounding the plant. Let's go back to the citizens to hear what they have to say on these matters.
Hello, my name is Lisa Strath. I live at 1402 Dameron Road, Bessemer City. I thank you for allowing me this moment to speak today. I do have some questions. It does appear that the project scope, shape, and size has substantially changed from 2021 to now. My first question would be, given these changes, what regulatory permits have been amended or are required to be added to reflect these changes? How has the public been kept abreast and been allowed the availability to be able to comment on these permits? My second question will address what is considered a dead spot in the county currently. The area that the project is proposed to be in is kind of a geographically isolated area when it comes to cell phones and internet usage. We have spotty, very unstable cell phone capabilities, pretty much non-existent broadband internet. God forbid, if this project does get underway and the citizens who are stuck living around it and the potential employees of this company will be at immediate risk if there is not something put in place prior to any groundbreaking that establishes a stable cell phone signal and internet. Communication cannot be cut off from anyone in that area. Mining is a dangerous business. I think that's very well known from everyone in this room. Not that we're wishing anything could happen, but for public safety, those things need to be in place. You can have emergency services sitting next door that are absolutely useless if no one can call for help. My next question will be, in the air quality permit and the PSD application submitted by Piedmont states that they were required to notify agricultural producers their emissions would affect crop yields. What crops will this affect? How will it affect them? And exactly how are you planning to notify the agricultural community? Thank you.
And Bryson, since you're a minor, you don't have to give your address on that. I have you already here, okay?
All right.
Thank you.
My name is Bryson Linhardt. I live on Whiteside Road in Gaston County, the closest house to the proposed mine. I'm 15 years old. I spend the majority of my time outside hunting, fishing, camping, anything that I can enjoy in the fresh air. I don't think it's fair that my little sister and I have to worry about the creek we play in will be polluted by hazardous chemicals? Will we even be able to catch fish safely anymore? Will we be forced to stay inside in front of a screen because of blasting noise and dust? How much of the woods around my house will I be able to even enjoy because of destruction from Piedmont Lithium? The destruction Piedmont Lithium is trying to bring to my home.
My name is Jessica Linhardt. I live at 115 George Pacer Road in Krause. I have a lot here, and I'm going to try to get through all of it. Piedmont Lithium is an inexperienced exploratory company currently holding 3,245 acres, roughly 5 square miles, of residentially zoned property. Their end goal is a lithium hydroxide plant with an operating life of around 30 years and multiple 500-foot deep mining pits operating for, as we know now, about 11 years, per company report of April of last year. According to their mining permit application submitted 2 years ago, they estimated their water usage to be between 828,000 and 3,312,000 gallons per day just for pit dewatering. When asked by the Mining Commission for clarification on their mitigation plan for residential locations in proximity to the mine, they state that it can take up to 45 days for them to drill a new well or to connect to a municipal water supply. How can you possibly drill a well in 45 days if all of the local wells have run dry? What happens if they drag their feet just like they've done with everything else they have been asked to do? Hooking to the water supply will take years. It's already been 2 years, and they do not even have a fully implementable plan for obtaining water. City water would be yet another monthly burden that residents may have no choice in paying for, as Piedmont has also stated in their application that they would not be paying our monthly water bills, despite the fact that it will be directly caused by their operation. The proposed plan for the water lines, according to their mining application, will take up to 30 months to complete. When Piedmont was asked about arsenic in the water, they responded they do not use arsenic in mining. That answer is deliberately designed to mislead. Arsenic will leach in greater amounts into the water in the pits because of the mine. If Piedmont truly does not believe that this is a common occurrence, I invite any of their employees to go over to Bessemer City, drink a glass of water out of the open pit. As for the chemical plant, the NOAA website lists lithium hydroxide, both powdered and solution forms, as a toxic and flammable substance. Please remember they want to build this facility neighboring a school and a daycare. Piedmont Lithium, in a direct quote, says that in the future, our property could be used for future manufacturing developments, parks, trails, greenways, recreation areas, commercial developments, and solar developments. Noticeably missing from that list are family homes, residents, and rural farming, because they know that the land will be unfit for habitation for hundreds of years moving forward. Instead of the beautiful pastoral views of life-sustaining crops growing that we now have, we are left with man-made and filled craters. Per their application, a toxic lake of arsenic-infused, unusable water and piles of waste rock. I ask, how does any of this, in another direct quote, focus on the safety, health, and well-being of the community? It seems to me that they're focused on the safety, health, and well-being of their paychecks.
Tough act to follow.
Exactly. I'm Tim Linhardt, 115 George Pacer Road. I'd like to start today by asking, when will Piedmont begin telling the truth about where the wells are around the properties and where the closest neighbors are? Since they've done, hold on, I'll just go with my thing. The current maps has neither correct. 2 years ago, Piedmont presented maps claiming all the wells of neighboring landowners, when shown that the maps were from around 1972. They came back and claimed that the map came back with another map from 2005. From my calculations, from now to then is 15 years. Why do they not have a map for nowadays? Let's see here. In the map, and I know personally, my well is very shallow at 50 feet, which is not going to last long. And they would know this if they would come and talk to the people instead of sending cookies and saying, hey, come to our office. If they cannot get their public records right, then why should we as landowners believe anything they say? And I personally believe that Piedmont Lithium does not care about the community. They only care about the money they will make off of our homes. And that's the end of my comments.
From the next couple of citizens, we will hear about things that have been mirrored in previous statements. We will also hear concerns over Piedmont's transparency in this matter, as well as their own familiarization with the locals. Perhaps one of the biggest concerns brought up by Warren Snowden is the lack of an NC licensed geologist on Piedmont Lithium staff. And another interesting note are concerns over the potential of an Indian burial ground being located in Piedmont Lithium's property.
Good evening. My name is Rich Pembleton. I live 927 Long Shoals Road. It's about a mile as the crow flies from the East Pit. Piedmont intends to leave behind a mountain of rock over 280 feet high. It'll be about 3 miles from Cherryville. For how many hundreds of years will the citizens of Gaston County have to look at that mess once Piedmont has taken their money and moved away? Since the citizens of Cherryville will be able to see it from their homes, will they get the naming rights to that mountain? And Piedmont has burned down 30 homes around me. These were homes people lived in until Piedmont bought them out. People could still be living in these homes if Piedmont had not burned them to the ground. Piedmont goes to Belmont, says it will help build one habitat house for a needy family. It puts itself in the paper about it. What about the other 29 families with no place to live? Piedmont does not care about the poor people in Gaston County. And finally, the air quality permit application says that Piedmont intends to operate 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Is this true, or is it more of Piedmont's not caring what they say on forms and documents and just filling in the blanks?
So I don't know about the rest of my neighbors in the room, but I think I have more questions and I'm more concerned and more confused tonight than I was before I got here. So I was hoping to get answers. I was hoping to learn more tonight. I'm really struggling because I've got so many questions that are unanswered. But let me go ahead and introduce myself. So commissioners, county staff, I'm Warren Snowden. We own property at 611 Adderholt Road. So we share over 8,000 linear feet of property line with Piedmont Lithium. We're not thousands of feet away. We're not hundreds of feet away. We are ground zero. We share property lines. We've not heard from Piedmont Lithium in over 2 years. So I don't know if they don't care. I don't know if they're not concerned about us, but I know that all of the reports by HDR refer to us as the tree farm buffer to the east. And so I come before you this evening, only having received a box of cookies and a bag of coffee. And I would suggest to you, if they really knew who their immediate impacted neighbors are, they would know that we don't eat cookies. We like ice cream. We don't drink coffee. We drink bourbon. They don't know us. And so it's really frustrating. 2 years later, we're still awaiting Piedmont Lithium to tell this community how they intend to be a good neighbor. How are they going to protect the citizens? They don't have a North Carolina mining permit. They don't have the proper zoning, no PSD air permit, no site plan approval, and they are years away from having the necessary utilities, electric and gas, to service this site. I learned yesterday they don't even have a North Carolina geological license. Let me repeat that. How many years have they been in our community? The North Carolina Geological Board does not hold a license for Piedmont Lithium or any of its geologists. So tonight I'd like to address something as simple as dust. Everybody knows that dust blows from the west to the east. We are the immediate neighbors to the east. We've not been contacted. Every time Piedmont Lithium burns a house, they don't warn us. We can smell smoke for hours. It blows from the west to the east. We have crops, we have trees, we have wildlife, we have kids, and we have our health. And they don't reach out to us. So it's very challenging to stand up here this evening. When Keith Phillips spoke 2 years ago in this room to these very citizens, he said things were going to be different. He said that Piedmont Lithium would be happy to come every month and hold informational meetings if needed. 2 years later passed, no meetings, no answers, and he's not even here tonight. So in Piedmont Lithium's May 2023 presentation to their investors, they said this project will be a $456 million steady state EBITDA project with a 27% annual return and a short project payback of 3.5 years. Pretty lucrative. Yet, they continue to cut corners wherever they get a chance. When asked how they were going to discharge water from the site, they had 4 options, and they've chosen the least expensive option, but the most dangerous for the citizens. Why does Piedmont Lithium continue to not provide answers, and they choose profits over the environment, over the community, and over our citizens? Why does Piedmont Lithium continue to choose not to be a good neighbor? Why? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Somebody
My
write
name
this
is Bobby
down.
Tedder. I live on 221 Forest Dowling Road. My property borders Lock Bell's property and properties that have been sold. There's one thing that may can stop this mine if this is true. Supposedly on Hastings Road where it meets Hethford Church Road, if you look north, there's a clump of trees there. Now, I have been told all my life that's an Indian graveyard. If this is so, it needs to be checked in by each and every one of you. We've heard a lot of things about how good it is, but we've not heard some of the bad parts. The Columbia Climate School, use of large amounts of water, and I don't think it was specifically how much water was used towards per ton. Related pollution, potential increase in carbon dioxide, mineral waste, increased respiratory problems, alternate hydrological cycle, which messes with the water and the atmosphere also, and the atmospheric system. The concentration of lithium reduced or completely inhibit growth, causes necrosis on older leaves on the trees, reduces chlorophyll, which reduces plant shoot and root biomass, cause less purified oxygen to breathe. And all the trees that cut out, what trees do. The necrosis is a scientific term for the death of plant tissues. In other words, it kills the trees. If you're in here and you're old enough to remember Bessemer City when all the trees were dead around there, they said it's not the mine. Well, it wasn't beetles because we didn't have beetles in. You see what's coming out. Every ton mined, from what I understand, if this is correct, there's 15 tons of CO2. Now, I stand to be corrected by you. That's emitted to the air. What's CO2? Is it good for you? No. May include headaches, dizziness, pains and needles feeling, breathing problems, sweating, increased heart rate, high blood pressure, coma, asphyxia, and convulsions. Displaces normal oxygen in the breathing air. Now, this could not be correct, but it says 400 to 2 million liters of water per kilo of ton. I stand to be corrected. You spoke about the slurry, but where's the slurry going? Our water treatment plants can't handle all this slurry, and there's going to be tons of it. The dirty secret is it disturbs the soil water table, causes damage to the local ecosystem. The Army Corps of Engineers, and y'all probably stop me on this. The Army Corps of Engineers say it won't harm the water supplies. Well, they're government affiliated, and the government out of Washington lies every day, and that's a fact. The Chile's cellular Atacama mining caused the region to lose 65% of that region's water. Chile has the world's largest lithium reserves. Lithium batteries also cause air contamination to the air and the soil. Mild toxicity of lithium is weakness, worsening tremors, and things like that, and poor concentrations and diarrhea. From what I understand else about it, if this dust, now don't correct me on this if I'm also wrong, this dust escapes to the atmosphere, it's explosive. And if there's enough moisture in the air and humidity, there's a possibility it can explode. As I said, y'all can correct me on a lot of these matters. That's all I've got. Thank you for letting me have my time.
Thank you, sir.
But I would like to talk about the Indian graveyard.
Yes, sir. What we will do, just for everybody's knowledge, I'm going to ask Piedmont Lithium if you'd like to rebut anything that you guys have heard. Give you that opportunity. But what we'd like to do as well, if you don't mind, we'll have, once we get all the questions that were asked from the clerk's office, we'll have our staff send them over to you guys. You guys can do it that way as well. And then we can post that and we'll send it out because we have the record of how they signed up for their questions that way. But we want to make it as transparent, if that's okay. I'll make sure you're okay first because I got to make sure you're good. So would you care to rebut tonight anything that you've heard or talk, or you'd rather take it as it's up to you guys? Usually we don't do this, but I want to make sure that everybody's on the table for what we need. So what we'll do, just for everybody's forsake, if that's okay, we'll have, once we get the tape, we'll put the questions back in. We'll have them send them to you this week. You guys don't mind, we'll get it by, give me a date there, Esquire. Look down what you got on your phone. You got your phone out, that's what I'm asking. What's that date on there? Next Thursday.
Next Thursday. 8 and 17th.
17th, we'll have those to you guys. If you can have them back in 10 days, that'll be the 27th. If that's okay, if that sounds good enough, that way we can post that. We'll send it, make sure that if you're on this list, Adam, can you just put a list over there of anybody who spoke tonight, put your email down. That way you'll have them directly to you. And we'll work on that because what we want to do is make sure transparency is covered through everything we have. But that way, Bill, you and Tom can get with him, and that way y'all can kind of put together some back and forth. I don't want to put anybody on the spot, but I don't want to make sure that we don't run from anything. But I want to thank you guys for coming. Like I said, it's a tough. You knew it was going to be tough. You knew that when you come in here. For you folks who are here in Gaston County, our job as commissioners, we're going to make sure we ask the questions that you want to ask. You guys call. Like I said, somebody called me the other morning at 5 o'clock. It's okay. I don't mind. But we're going to listen. And I'm proud of the staff that we have provided what you guys have done, but I also want to thank the board for putting up with a lot that goes on with this because it is it's tiresome, but it's also intense, but it also has a lot of purpose. You guys have to understand what they want. It's what's best for what they've been doing for their whole lives. And you guys know how it is when somebody comes in and intrudes on you. It's kind of different, you know. So we want to make sure we're respectful for everybody and what we do. I want to thank you guys tonight for being respectful for each other. This is a hard time, but we're going to get it right. And we're going to make it happen. We're going to make sure that we work hard to answer all the questions that we have.
Now we're going to wrap it up here today with an interview between Rusty and Dr. Dennis Beam, who is a local pastor at Anthony Grove Baptist Church. They've been concerned about the process since its inception and have been advocates for stopping the lithium mine. Now, we're going to keep everyone up to date as well as we can on these issues, so make sure to stay tuned to hear more about Piedmont Lithium.
Reverend Bean, did Piedmont Lithium answer any of your questions tonight?
Well, I think they answered some, and I think their answers also resulted in more questions.
So you think there's more questions than answers possibly tonight?
Yes, I do. I do feel like that the commissioners were prepared. I think they asked some tough questions. I think we got some answers, and I think some things were ambiguous there. So I'm hoping that after the follow-up and at the next, maybe the next meeting, we'll have some answers to some of those questions.
Do you think if Piedmont Lithium were to come, would your church stay where it is, or do you know?
Well, our plan, and we've gone to Piedmont Lithium, and we said we want you to do one of two things. We want you to move your chemical plant from across the street or buy our property so we can move away from your chemical plant. Because we don't think that people will want to bring their children to our daycare or to our school if the chemical plant is across the street. Now, the chemical plant may be perfectly safe, but the perception is that it's not.
Well, if you had a crystal ball, what would you envision 5 years from now?
Well, I envision, unless some things change to their project proposal, they will not get the permitting that they need to do what they want to do.
All righty. Well, Reverend Bean, appreciate you speaking with us tonight.
Thank you. Thank you for what you guys do.